Hello, everybody, and thank you for tuning in to the one and only Sister to Sister 2.0. Remember to subscribe right there at the bottom. Yep, hit that button right there. Yep. We're sitting here with the one and only, one of my favorite artists. Again, I keep getting these incredible artists that are, being blessed to interview. But this one is true and dear to my heart, the one and only legendary Miss Allyson Williams. Thank you so much for joining us tonight, Allyson.
Thank you for having me, Mike.
Beautiful as ever, looking beautiful. Before we even jump into the interview, you're as beautiful as you are since you started.
Thank you.
What are you doing? I mean, you look incredible.
I spray myself with Aquanet and I don't move.
Aquanet is something else, right?
You know what? And I learned this very early in life, and I learned it from from people who have stood the test of time, that you have to just take care of yourself. And this business sometimes will run you ragged, trying to make yourself available for this gig, that gig, this party, this after party, this appearance, time with your family, time with your friends. And before you know it, you have neglected yourself.
Absolutely.
So it's about getting rest. It's about eating the proper foods, getting in that exercise when you can. It's not easy. If it was easy, then everybody'd be doing it. But you have to really just make the time to take care of yourself. Take care of your skin. If you're using a lot of full coverage makeup and then putting it under bright lights, it's like being in an oven. It's like baking it into your skin. So you have to use really good products in order to keep it cleansed and give your skin a break. You don't have to make up. Don't make up. Just and then I got good genes.
Yes.
I'm happy to be a woman of a certain age and still be, holding it together.
Let's talk about those genes. It's one of my top questions. I want to talk about your father, Bobby Booker, and dig into some of this incredible history about your legacy. Because I think when we think about Black history and our Black powerful movers and shakers, we don't know who our people are. And one of the things I wanted to talk to you about is that not only are we interviewing you tonight, but we're talking about your legacy. And your father played jazz trumpet and had big bands back in the day. Let's talk about
my father played with some incredible bands, but he also was a band leader in his own right. He had a 21-piece swing band called the Bobby Booker Orchestra, Bobby Booker Big Band. And for over 25 years, they were the premier band in the tri-state area and beyond. Rooted and out of Central Harlem. They were based out of Harlem. They rehearsed at the Kennedy Center in Harlem. And they had an incredible lineup of world-class musicians that all played with Duke Ellington and Basie and still continue to go out and play and do the bigger dates around the world. But they always had a chair when they came back. That's what they loved about being able to play with the Bobby Booker Big Band. We had Dickie Wells. We would sometimes have, we had Max the Sax on saxophone, Max Lucas. We had Howard Johnson as his arranger. We had now all these are names of people that we might not even know who they were, but I know who they are because I came up with these great jazz musicians. And if you go and look up these names, Earl Father Hines, if you look up these names, you'll see the legacy of the type of musician that Black musician that was laying it down.
Yeah, the creators, the ones that opened the doors for so many musicians that would come from them. What was it like to be a little girl surrounded by not only your father, and you seem to have had a great bond, but he put you around and submerged you around such great musicians, and these were men. What was that like as a little girl to just have all of this going on around?
I had a lot of aunts and uncles, the extended family that is music. So even the musicians that, he would go, it was when most kids went down south to visit their families, say for a spring break or a holiday. I went to the Newport Jazz Festival. So it was nothing for me to be around an Ella Fitzgerald or a Dizzy Gillespie or Clark Terry, Louis Armstrong, Miles Davis. I would meet all these people. And as a kid, they were just folks who either had candy in one pocket and money in the other. I just, you're just a kid running around backstage with somebody else's kid, because there's always children, that are part of a musical experience. And, these people are nurturing you and giving you words of wisdom and praising you. I always felt when I was in my, the company of my mother and my father's friends, that I I felt like I could do things. And what would happen is when I got around my peers and I tried to, I guess, say to them the things that I had learned, or if I had answers to certain questions, then of course I was ridiculed or bullied for it. Oh, you think you're cute. Oh, you think you know everything. Oh, yeah, that's how, they just do you like that. So I always enjoyed being around older people. I'm sure that at 38, my mother did not expect to have me. I have a sister that's 10 years older, so I was an oops baby. So between my mother and father, they had to find creative ways of making sure that someone always had me. I had a Nana, who was not my grandmother, but I had my grandmother, and I had a woman who took care of me named Nana, and my father also took care of my mother, so it's just the whole family had to pitch in to take care of. But all of those people and being around those great musicians and the women too, the singers, the dancers from the Cotton Club, it was incredible, to have that wealth of information at your fingertips. And you didn't even know. But, I think once they got a wind of the fact that, she's dancing, she's singing, she's taking piano lessons. And there was this thing where, okay, she may just go into the arts. We think she has that kind of talent. Then they would begin to pour into.
Wow.
So it was great. It was wonderful. It was a wonderful childhood.
I found something very interesting. You used to be with your father at rehearsals. And in an interview, you stated that you would place 21 books down on stands, and that's how you knew that there were 21 band members. What were some of the best memories of hanging around these musicians?
Well, two in particular I'll share with you. One was there was this incredible organization called the Friendly 50. And the Friendly 50 was an organization of musicians, and every year they had two events. They had a dinner, a gala dinner out here in Queens at a place called Bruno's, and then, which was a big catering hall back in the day. And then there was the Friendly 50 picnic. And every year we go upstate and cross the Verrazano Narrows Bridge and go somewhere just above where Peg Leg Bates had his place. It was a place with lots of land, beautiful grass and trees and grills and picnic tables. And they had a, what do you call it? What do you call it? A promenade, not a promenade. Pavilion. They had a pavilion, and they would set the band up in the pavilion. They had a bandstand in the pavilion. And after we barbecued, and they all played cards and dominoes, and the kids went in the pool and what have you, that later that evening, the band would play. And when I tell you, folks would come with their walkers and their whatever they had and lay those things up against the wall and begin to do that dance that we know only our parents knew how to do.
Wow.
And they would do it, and it was beautiful. And everybody would perform. Everybody was there. We're talking about really high-level celebrity type folks as well as your local musicians. They were all there and performing and dancing and doing their thing. And it was and it happened every year. And then there were kids there as well. So you had people to play with your age, and it was just beautiful. Folks cooked, they brought food from home. It was wonderful. The women cooked, the men played cards and drank brown liquor. It was incredible. But the thing that I loved about it is that when you got to the picnic site, you had to sign a book and put your address and everything down over again, so they could update everything. And they always had a list. If you knew someone who couldn't be there because they were either just couldn't come, maybe they were sick, maybe they were in the hospital. So they always knew how to keep in touch with everybody. And I remember when my father passed, it was that Friendly 50 list that I was able to go to that made sure everybody was in place when we sent him home. Wow. And it's incredible. It was an incredible group of people. The other thing I think I remember the most is I was a Hal Jackson talented teen. That's where I think basically kind of where I met Melissa. And I know we were in the same year. And that was the year my dad came to see me, and he didn't know that I really sang. He knew that I was been dancing in Harlem for years. I was a part of the junior company. He had been paying for dance lessons. I had scholarships, and dance was my world. That's what I started out doing. But I always looked at the people that I could relate to, and many of them didn't look like me. I had very few African-American examples, but, someone who would sing and dance and act, in the musicals. And that's what I wanted. So I knew I had to sing, even though I was kind of shy about it. But I would dance, and the acting was coming. And he came to Town Hall to see the big end of the year shebangy bangy for Hal Jackson's Talented Teen. And he broke out into tears, and he found some change and went to the telephone, to the phone booth, and called his arranger. And he said, "Man, we got to make some arrangements for my baby. I didn't know she could sing like that." My performance piece was Sweet Georgia Brown from Bubbling Brown Sugar, as had been performed by Vivian Reed. So I was very much into a jazz kind of thing even back then. And I was amazed when I watched Melissa Morgan, because she had such a strong hold on R&B and how she could, you know, turn her notes and stuff. And she was even at that age, you know, she was very much in control of her gift. And I was like, ooh, who's that? So, you know, and had a great presentation. She had a life-size clown that sat on a stool, and she wore a beautiful clown, mariachi kind of clown, and she sang Smile. So it was very well thought out and very, you know, well put together, and I really appreciated it. And there were so many really talented people. So that was a big thing for me to know that my dad, after that, went out and had charts for the 21 pieces made for me. We did Good Morning Heartache and All of Me. Those were my first two pieces. We performed with the big band. All of Me, why not take all of me? That and Good Morning Heartache.
Oh, that was look. I was about to go in. I love it. I love it. Well, do you feel like you were destined to be in the music business after sharing so much with your father on that musical journey as you were kind of growing up? Did you see that? Did you see that bug coming at you?
I did. If you'll give me 1 second, I need to take a sip.
Absolutely, please.
I haven't sung in weeks. I haven't sung a full voice in weeks. What was I thinking of? I did see myself. I always saw myself as an entertainer. But I'd say before that, you know, you always say, "Kid, what do you want to be when you grow up?" There were times when I remember myself saying, "I want to be a gymnast." But I kept growing. Something wasn't happening. And I think at that time, you know, my parents were paying for dance classes, and they were paying for music lessons, and they were, you know, giving me the things and a Catholic school education. So you couldn't just go down to Chelsea Pier. And I'm in New York. I don't know if people know Chelsea Pier. And there's so many places, let me just say that, around the country now where gymnastics is readily available. Back then you had to go away to camp, and it was a whole nother situation. Right. Whole other nation to take that on. So I felt like you might need to put yourself into something that's not as going to be costly to your parents. So then I said, well, I could be a figure skater. You know, I had all of these lofty Olympian dreams, but I think what I wanted to do, I wanted to fly. I wanted the feeling of fly. I wanted the feeling of freedom and forward motion. And gymnastics gave me that. And skating, I did take figure skating, and so I got what that was. And then I said, well, I can't. It doesn't seem like I can get any of this done to the professional level. I'll be a veterinarian. I love animals. And then I said, well, you got to go to school a long time for that, you know. So these are different things you think about. And then all along, I'm singing and dancing. And finally, the singing and the dancing and the acting took hold. You know, I think when I realized that was my escape, because I was a victim of bullying and a lot of other kind of abusive things like that coming up. So I had to find that place where I could go. And then I realized that I could fly through dancing. I could take wing. I could get away. I could take my mind into a place that wasn't my neighborhood, my hood. I didn't have to wish that I lived somewhere else, so I wouldn't have to, you know, deal with, you know, when I stepped outside, it was always a problem. When I stepped outside, it was going to be an issue, even if it was just a few, you know, little well-placed nasty words and comments. It was going to happen. If I didn't get it going, I got it coming back. But you figure it out, you know, you figure it out. But through the music and through the singing, I figured, wow. Now, my problem was that I didn't sound like other people, and I didn't know about finding your own voice. I came up in Catholic school, and my household was jazz. Now, even though we did play gospel and R&B and all kinds of music, it was predominantly jazz. It was Broadway, Broadway musicals, it was everything, but it was predominantly jazz. So that's what sank in. So my vocal approach was different than a lot of people who might have been listening to gospel or a lot of Aretha or, you know, whoever the commercial R&B artists were at the time. And so it made me shy because I knew I sounded, I felt like a nerd. You know how, you know, some kids can be real hip and then other kids have science and math. That's how I felt like with music.
Because you were different. You were actually a lead. Most leaders are nerds. They're the ones that are standing out from everyone else, out of the pack. I know.
Well, it takes you a long time to realize, like I always say to people, you know, had I known that being able to sing a straight note was going to serve me so much better later in life than being able to go like this. Yes. Now, I can go like this all I want, but when I go like that, that's when I get the reaction. So, you know. Yeah, that's when you really can open up and find the beauty inside the note. When you don't chop it up and make it too many colors, just let it be. Let it have a natural, organic thing. And so that's how I learned how to approach music through jazz.
Wonderful. Speaking of that, this is a great segue for this because you are such an educator. Explain to us what vocal improvisation is, because I don't think many people know what that is and what that phrase means in terms of a jazz artist performing. I heard you talk about it in an interview, and I thought this is exquisite to talk about this, because some of the younger generation, they're out there, they're doing these runs and they're doing all of these things, and I don't think they know what they're doing.
Well, improvisation, I can only give you my opinion of what it is. I don't have a textbook answer for you, but what I do know is improvisation is the art of being able to take what is already set in stone and improvise, as you say, improvisation, to improvise, to take it somewhere else in any number of different ways. Improvise upon a theme, a variation of a theme. And some people do it through runs and riffs. Some people do it through changing the tempo. Some people a musician may be able to do it by changing the color of a piece of music or a line that you may be singing. So and improvisation is something that comes from within. It should be, or is usually a spontaneous inflection. And there are many ways to do it, many takes on improvisation, but it is the first thing you have to do before you can delve into improvisation, and however you take that to be, is you must know where you're starting. So you lay a foundation, and you take that foundation and you build from there. And that is, improvisation.
Wonderful, wonderful. Very early on, you found your way to be accepted and respected among the boys in the band. How did you manage your behavior being around grown people? I remember when I was young, I used to, every time my parents would have parties, and they seemed to have had them every weekend, I wanted to get out and dance. I wanted to get out and do the robot because I knew they were going to pay me. I was going to make some money.
You were going to make money that night. It was a hustle. Yeah.
So I was waiting, like, what time everybody going to get here? Because I'm about ready to do my little Soul Train dance so I could get me a pocket full of quarters. But after I would do it, I would run back in my room because, I didn't want to be around the grown people. Behavior. How were you able to behave with having so many grown people around you? Because you have, when you're around grown people, you want to be grown. Sometimes we want to be grown, and sometimes there's a fear. How were you able to decipher the two?
I think because I was around grown people so much of the time, like I said, I had a sister who was 10 years older, but she preferred to spend most of the time with her god sisters who lived in the Bronx. She really wanted very little to do with me because I had ruined the 10-year reign. Yeah. I was like, oh, yeah. How did this happen? So, and I get it, everybody's not cut out to be a sibling. So I was around my parents and their friends and like I said, the musical world quite early. So I was they used to tell me I was one of those kids, oh, she's been here before, or she's an old soul. My mother was in a private hospital. It's on 110th Street. Well, it was on 110th and Lenox. It's the building's still there, but right next to it is a high rise. It's really funny, but it was called Italian Hospital. We lived on 111th Street, and it was up the street. And her best friend called her and said, "What are you doing?" She says, "I'm washing clothes in the bathtub." She said, and I think my water broke. So she came and got her, and I could have been born in the clothes. But there was all the other mothers had left. So my mother was the only one there. It's a small hospital. And she tells me the story that the nurses would take me out of the nursery and put me in one of those paper, the in and out paper trays that they used to have on the desk. They would make a bassinet out of that and put me in that. So I was with them all night long. Wow. So no one ever spoke baby talk to me. No one ever, it was always, what are you doing, baby Allyson? So on and so. From the time I was a baby, I was around grown people and grown people conversation. So when I got to be a certain age where I was walking and talking on my own, I guess, it was not odd to me to be in the presence of adults. That whole party scene, I realized very early that if you behaved yourself and didn't turn it out, you could stick around. But also, I grew up in an era where grown people were reverent of children. Do you know what I'm saying? They respected children. If they felt they were going to be too far over the top, they sent you out of the room. But if you were there, they knew how to govern themselves accordingly, which grown people don't do that now. People don't, grown men spoke the way grown men spoke, and women did what they did too. But when children were around, or when women were around, tried to be a certain way. They governed themselves a certain way. There was a certain respect that they had. So I was never in danger of being, I guess I would hear the occasional swear, but it wasn't, it just was different. It was a different time and a different era. And like I said, these people were people who would always give me praise and what grades are you getting, and what did you learn, and what did you do that, and can you do, remember last time I told you about this, can you do that now? So I was accepted and I felt good, as opposed to when I went, like I said, around children my own age and it was the beat down. So I preferred to be around the older people.
Wow, that's incredible.
I prefer to be around the older people.
We have to talk about this incredible moment in your life when you signed to Def Jam. You were the first. For everybody who doesn't know, this lady is the first female artist to ever be signed on Def Jam. The queen of Def Jam is right here. You're the one that, as they say, this is the house that Jack built. This is the house that Allyson built. With Def Jam, what was it like? Do you remember, even back then, what that was going to mean, and how you made history? You were making history.
We were making history, and the funny thing is that prior to that, Russell was starting the label. He was talking about the label. He said, "I'm going to make the dopest, most underground label for the underground rappers, and it's going to be dopest." And it was just it was going to be this big. We didn't know that it was going to be this big. And when he wanted to start it off, I had been offered the contract with High Fashion. When you spoke about with Melissa, the group High Fashion, Melissa, myself, and Eric McClintock out of Detroit. And so I was like, Russell, I want to go and do this. Capitol Records is calling. To me, that was a big thing. Yeah. I had been told about Capitol Records. I knew about Nat King Cole. In my mind, these were the images. And I said, if I can get on Capitol, it's a major label, it could really take off into something. And Russell, I promise I'll come back. I want to do it. And he was understanding. He said, do what you feel you need to do. He wanted to produce a record and call it 21, because it was 1982 and I was 21. And he wanted to produce that record. So by the time Adele came with 21, we just looked and said, okay, well,
It's funny though, after, that was your
yeah, that I did a long time ago. But nonetheless, so I did the High Fashion run. It ran its course, and when we disbanded, Russell was much closer to putting the label together. And his brother Joey had then Run DMC had gotten signed to Profile. So because the label wasn't quite ready, it was, the Jello was in the mold, but it hadn't set yet. Yeah. So he put me on Profile for about one single, and I did a single called Yes We Can, a cover of the Pointer Sisters. And when it was time to come into the fold of Def Jam was up and running. But we, it was myself, we had an R&B division, because we had rappers, we had LL, and we had Houdini, and we had Public Enemy, and we had rappers, but to bring a R&B division, and that was myself, Chuck Stanley, Tashawn, Rashad, and Orange Juice Jones, who we know from The Rain. Right. So being the only female in that whole crew, it was incredible. And I had all of my brothers, my counterparts, because the rappers were just excited about us as we were about them, and the success that they were already having before we even put a record out. But we all chose the logos together, and we all chose the colors together. We all chose what it was going to look like. We were the founding members and the cornerstones of that. You know, and the sad thing is that when they celebrate Def Jam and the many years that it's come and its incarnations, they never call on us.
Yeah.
They never call on us. But, you know, it's okay. Just because they don't call on us don't mean it didn't happen.
Because it happened.
And I also have to give a shout out to Miss Nikki D, who was their female rap artist.
Yeah.
And we did things together and collaborated together. So, and she appeared on records with me.
She appeared on one of your songs, correct?
Yeah, on My Love Is So Raw, which was the Big Daddy Kane sample.
You had My Love Is So Raw, Sleep Talk, Just Call My Name, and you had a duet with the one and only Orange Juice Jones. Just Call My Name, you can't go anywhere without anybody knowing. That's an Allyson Williams song. We are thankful that song became a signature song. We had 5 songs in the top 5 and top 10. The Raw album, when remixed by Soul to Soul, was able to stay on the charts for 67 weeks. The only other album that stayed on 67 weeks that year was Madonna, Like a Prayer. Yes.
So you do the math. It's
right.
only 52 weeks in a year. We did 67. We didn't do too bad. Right. So with really great material, really great musicians, and really great writers, and they were dedicated to making a good product. The one thing that I know for a fact is that Russell's vision for his R&B division was he came up in Queens with blue and red light basement parties like everybody else, and they were playing great R&B music, and he wanted to recreate that kind of feel. Even though he had done the rap, and they thought, oh, rap's gonna be here and gone tomorrow, and then they realized, oh, not so much. Then when he decided to do R&B, that same group of people was like, oh, he's gonna fall on his face, but not so. Not so. You know what I'm saying? He was able to produce, to go out and find talent that could deliver. And so.
Yeah, absolutely. You've been also, I said this to Melissa, you guys were fashionistas back in the day. You have been, ever since we've seen you, you've been the artist that every time she hits the video, the stage, she looks like royalty. I have to ask you this question. Who came out with the hat first? Was it you or Phyllis Hyman?
Well, Phyllis was obviously on the charts prior to myself, but I think I took that from her, that a nod from her in trying to, I remember looking at my mother and my father's photo albums, and there would be these pictures of them at the Cotton Club or at the Savoy Manor, when they were out with their friends, and the women always were so well dressed with pocketbooks and gloves and hats, and the men had on suits and overcoats. And I remember that even though obviously fashion had changed, by the time I came along, but it was that thing about being well appointed and looking the best that you could. Yeah. Do you know what I'm saying? Everybody just looked really good. And I wanted to look good. I wanted that thing, and I wanted to make it a little high, pulled up without being, formal wear. Right, I wanted it to, but I wanted it to give you that feeling of something has walked in the room. And I also wanted to touch base with my ancestry. So that's why, there were so many things that were Afrocentric in the choice of my lines and my fabrics and the crowns and so on and so forth. So, I could say that I took an inspiration from her, but I knew it was going to be hats because I've always been a hat person. I got that from my mom, hat diva. Just hats. So we thought that would be a good thing to roll with, and it was. And I think that the only other person that came after me with that, who says it till this day, was Dana, was Queen Latifah. She's like, oh yeah, when I saw her with him, I knew that was the move. So it came from Phyllis to myself to Queen, and has continued to to keep that alive. In terms of it being a statement. It's a wonderful statement.
Do you think that even in today's...
I brought you something tonight. See? We haven't been able to wear them in months.
So now, do you have a shoe fetish too?
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
Okay.
It's pretty bad. But it's all right. I'll be fine. When it's time for an intervention, I'm sure someone will do one.
Right.
But right now,
Oh
I'm
man,
on my meds. I'm good.
that's great. That's great. Let's talk a little bit of just about just a short stint on music today. We were talking about the music. We were talking about fashion. Do you feel like some of these things and elements are missing with our artists and artist development today? Because people wearing interesting things. I don't. Do you think that there's much emphasis put on developing artists? Back in the day, it was all about development. It was all about sort of having a team that could help you put yourself together or take you to the next thing. It was emphasis put on album covers, artwork, what you looked like. It matched your sound. So, what is your take on that?
I just, it's difficult. I don't judge. And I think everyone has their 15 minutes and they have to do the best that they can do in that spotlight that's been given to them in that moment. But I think that there came a time when everybody just wanted to take on the whole, I'm going to keep it real. I'm going to keep it down. And what they did, I think, is they stripped away some of the integrity. In terms of there being artist development, you have to have that team in place if and everyone, we don't have any labels anymore, so we don't have we have mostly everyone is an independent contractor that's coming together to put people together. And more than anything, I think people are trying to push the envelope for shock value. People trying to push the envelope. It's very easy to see that I can do this today and the world will forgive me tomorrow because they'll be distracted by something else. By the time they turn around, I will have put my clothes back on.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so you don't have time to go, well, now why were you out here like that?
Right.
I mean, there'll be some, and then there's just so many appetites to satisfy, and the internet gives an opportunity for all of them to be satisfied. So what one person doesn't like or does not agree with or does not sit well with, someone else will think is these needs.
You just move to the next.
Yeah. So I think that if it were up to me, I think that, there should be just some semblance of good taste. Yes. Some people just some things are just a little not in poor taste. But if that's how you express yourself, then that I guess that you have the choice to do it that way. Might not be my way, you know what I'm saying. But and I wish there were a more concentrated artist development situation in place for more artists, because I think that by the time they've done all the things that could be detrimental, or that some people, young artists, people coming into this industry, it's really, unless you've had a chance to live it, you don't realize how thick the veil is. I mean, you get that thing over your eyes and it's shiny and it smells good and it just, every time they pull it back, something else wonderful happens, and there's a new Ferrari in your driveway, or a big house, or a private plane, or whatever, according to what level, obviously, you're dealing with. You can get caught up in that and make poor decisions, or not realize that maybe not so much. Maybe I should try to take it. I can take it here, but not necessarily over the top. So it is what it is, and it's going to be different with every generation. Yeah. I realize that I'm maturing, so there are certain things that maybe in my 20s and 30s I would have been like, yeah, that's it. But now I look at it and go, no, that's not it. At least it's not it for me.
Right.
But everybody else, they got to be 20 and they got to be 30.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And hopefully they don't do something that will take them to a place that they can, from whence there's no return.
Yes.
I see now that they're getting back to being, having a little more glamour on the red carpets. You know what I'm saying? Because those are the things that I loved when I was a kid, sitting home watching on TV from the couch. I loved watching, folks show up and they were done.
Beautifully done.
Yeah, beautifully done. You know what I'm saying? Making a statement.
Yeah.
So I was glad to be a part of that when I was, when our music had first come out, and I was running the red carpets on that level, to be able to, make great decisions, to make a statement, and that statement has stayed with me. So that's why, as you say, when people think of me, they think of someone who.
Absolutely, it's the voice, but it's also about the style, the beauty, the style. What you wear on stage. Yeah, the hat. Yeah, absolutely. You, well, before we close out, you have a beautiful love for Dionne Warwick. Can we talk about that?
Well, you know what? I've been really blessed to have been mentored by some wonderful women.
Mm-hmm.
Nancy Wilson, our beloved Dr. Maya Angelou,
Mm-hmm.
um, Melba Moore,
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Shaka Khan,
Mm-hmm.
Valerie Simpson, some really strong women in the mix. And I'm just naming a few, and I'm just naming some that come out of entertainment.
Mm-hmm.
But Dionne has always been special to me because Dionne's voice is one of the voices that was prevalent in my home. There was Burt Bacharach. So there was promises. Like I told you, there was films, there was Broadway plays, there was all of that kind of pop music. So those are the songs I learned. I remember learning, there were two CDs, no they weren't, there were two albums that I particularly loved. And one was Dakota Staton, and it was called the Late Late Show album. And there was this beautiful brown-skinned Black woman embracing herself in a white mink stole with beautiful red nails and red lips. And I looked and I said, oh, I want to be her one day when I grow up.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was Dionne Warwick with Burt Bacharach. And so songs like What the World Needs Now Is Love and Promises, What's It All About, Alfie, those were my go-to songs. Do you know what I mean? So having an opportunity to meet her and be with her and have her be so calm and sweet and just ever so, it means the world to me that I can call her and reach out to her and to have her embrace me and to know that, her music is the music that inspired my vocal style. I remember when Nancy Wilson celebrated, I think it was her 82nd birthday prior to her passing, her transitioning. She had a great big birthday party out in LA, and I was called out there to sing for her, and I was in my element. I just knew. And we had a wonderful orchestra, and the way the ballroom was set up there, they had a dance presentation. I think Debbie Allen's dance troupe had done something. So here were the tables, and there was the stage, and then in the middle, it was this vast sea of a dance floor. But the dancers had already used that, and it wasn't like people were up dancing. The dance company had done their presentation, so now it's time to sing. I've got to make a way to get to her vocally as well as the rest of the room. And I said, okay, I know one thing, I can't do that stage. So I walked myself right on across that dance floor and stood in front of Nancy's table. Yes. And that made, some of the people back up a little bit because everybody was on top of her. They wanted their moment. And as I began to sing, I realized who was sitting next to her, and it was Dionne Warwick with her head. You know how she kind of turns it to the side? Singing. And I said to myself, oh, not now. Because, I was confident that I knew the song, could do the song. Alfie is one of my go-tos, but to have Dionne Warwick sitting there looking at you.
Right.
Looking at you with her head turned to the side going, It was just because I didn't catch it at first. And then when I realized what was going on, I was too many bars into the song to even let it wreck me. But it was a wonderful adrenaline rush to have her. And the look on her face was one of total approval.
Awesome. Oh, that's beautiful.
Total approval.
Also, tonight we want someone special is watching you tonight, and that is the one and only Mr. Russell Simmons. And
hey, Russ.
Hello to this man who opened the door for so many people, but also was with you at your very start.
Oh, I was his favorite, and I still am. And that's my story. I'm sticking with it, and he better not say anything else. Hey, Russell. Hey, listen, had it not been, I was a jazz singer by trade, born like that. I signed to a rap label and was given an R&B contract. But that Forrest Gump of a jump has allowed me to be everywhere. I've been with people from the classical community. I've been with dancers in multi-genres. I've been with singers, musicians from jazz to gospel to pop to house to reggae. Do you know what I'm saying? I couldn't have done that had I not been put in the middle of that particular mix. It's taken me around the world and made me a diverse individual, not just a diverse singer. I believe that my gift that God gave me as a singer is a really wonderful thing, but it's not just the voice. My real talent is my diversity. I can sing any mode of music authentically.
Yes.
And everyone can't say that.
Yes.
That's what I love about my voice, is that I can use it, and I can use it as a platform. All that I do now is pray that even in the new normal, I'm able to continue to gain success and
Yes.
notoriety. And some people will say, well, you don't have to be a celebrity and notoriety. No, what it is that those things are the things that elevate you so that people will pay attention to you. They would not be putting John Legend on everything, including a box of Cheerios, if he didn't have notoriety.
Yes. Yeah.
If he didn't have celebrity. So you have to grow into that, do you know what I'm saying, and be humble with your craft, do you know what I'm saying, but grow into it so that you can be put in a position where you can make a difference and you can have the ear of the nation and of the world. It's not, you know what I'm saying, that's how I see it. And some people will say, oh, well, you know, you can do so much more and you can do that. Yeah, but you gotta, if you're not up on the top,
Yes.
chances are you won't get to as many. I'm trying to get to as many as possible, and I do it every day, trying to work where I am. I'm so happy for the journey that I've had. If I don't get to walk another step, I've walked in places that some people wish they could have been, and I'm happy for the people that came into my life and who still continue to walk this journey with me and help me to grow and help me to not just survive but to thrive.
Yes. Yes. Will we ever get another album from you?
Will we ever? Well, if we can come out of the pandemic, yes. Because as I'm working right now, I have a jazz CD. I finally have come into the full circle. I always wanted to get back to doing jazz. The CD is called Summer Nights in Harlem. Right now, there are 2 songs completed. We're going to do an EP and then finish it out. Summer Nights in Harlem and The Romance of You. They are new school standards, really lush productions. I have Christian McBride, Ulysses Owens. I have Christian Sands, Kirk Whalum, Ray Chu, Solomon Hicks. I have some of the best musicians in the industry, jazz and beyond. Really, really great. I'm excited about it. And I also have an R&B project, a gospel project, and a house project that we are putting together. But you know what I'm saying? It's a process. So we have those things. Definitely are going to come back, like I said, with more R&B, even maybe blues. And we have some projects. People want me to do a Phyllis Hyman project. People want me to do a Carmen McRae project. So we have so many things that we're doing, and that we're trying to reach out to. I tour right now with the Christian McBride Situation, which is one of his incarnations. It's called A Christian McBride Situation. It is myself, Ron Blake on sax, Patrice Rushen on keyboard, Christian obviously on bass, and 2 wonderful turntablists, DJ Logic and DJ Jai Sundance. So that's what I'm working on now. I'm working and collaborating with Nat Adderley Jr., the Nate Lucas All-Stars, and my band, which is called the Allyson Williams Experience. So if people want to find me, they can do it through Facebook. And I have an Instagram account. I'm in tutorials now, and so I can have a better presence on Instagram. But you know, I'm working it out. Jamie Brown, I love you because you've been there since the beginning, and I thank you so much.
You send her love, absolutely, absolutely. Thank you so much, Allyson, for this incredible interview. I think so many people need to hear from our legends. And to me, you are a legend.
Thank you.
You have been submerged, like you say, in some of the most incredible situations when it comes to music, when it comes to art. And I'm such a huge fan, and I honor you tonight with this interview because people like you, Melissa, Melba, and so Shaka, so many, and I could go on and on. You guys are the reason, you know, we listened to music back in the day. It was wonderful voices, incredible music and storytelling. With fashion, we were able to look at ourselves and our culture and appreciate our own beauty and what we could do with style and fashion and music and how all of that came together. So I honor you for sustaining, for being who you are, and for being true to who you are as an artist. So Thank you so much for this interview.
Thank you. Thank you for this platform. Thank you for the opportunity to reach out to the fan base and to folks who are becoming a part of the fan base and beyond. I want everybody to stay safe.
Absolutely.
Keep aware. read and listen and get the real news and get and continue. We're going to wash our hands and wear our masks and sanitize and do the things that we can to stay healthy. And we're going to come through it. There's a reason why it's all going down like this, and we'll see and know better at the end. By and by, as
by.
So,
right.
See you all soon on the other side, and please be safe, be well, and be blessed. I wish you love and light, peace and blessings, miracles, and music.
Beautiful. Thank you again. Thank you. Everybody, thank you so much for joining us tonight on Sister to Sister 2.0 with one of my favorite artists of all time. She is the one and only legendary Miss Allyson Williams. And we thank her tonight for joining us and dropping all of those incredible little nuggets that we need to hear about the past and what it was like in music back in the day. So it's just wonderful to have someone like that to interview and to share this moment with us. So you all take care. We'll see you next time right here on Sister to Sister 2.0.